Hello, guys. Welcome back to Sarcastic Remarks. Alongside Chris and James, my name is Ryan Chambers. Thank you for joining us here this evening, and thank you to our sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook, Manscaped, and BetterHelp. Go and use that promo code THPN the next time you are there. And yes, I am very sorry to those of you late castic remarks. Yes, Tally. Yes, we are late. It's kind of my fault. I'm sorry. We are having to make some things work at the Chambers household right now because everything is going on. We have like what, James, 8 dogs and like
Yeah, there's
4
8 dogs.
cats
If you want to know how bad it's gotten, I am currently sarcastic remarking from a bathroom. So
sitting on the toilet.
I'm currently sitting on the toilet. My
Fully
pants
clothed.
are my
Fully
pants
clothed.
are on. They're on. I promise. But
Sorry, it's
I
not one of those
am
podcasts.
I'm in the bathroom.
It's not one of those. And I am under the stairs, so I'm Harry Pottering this sarcastic remarky podcast. And
I am not there, thank goodness.
and Chris is in a laundry room. So
no, this is the studio. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, give me. Do I need to go full screen, Chris?
Yeah, go for it.
Studio. Move
Studio.
camera slightly to the right.
Yes, exactly. All right. Anyways, guys, it's good to see both of y'all. It's getting down into the dog days of the off season. There's
almost.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're almost there. But this is when things really start to slow down a little bit. We're enjoying our time, spending time with family, and obviously for me, like summer band's coming up. I know some things are starting to ramp up for James. He's getting ready for his wedding here in a couple of months, so we're really excited for that. And then Chris just got a raise, everybody. So be happy for him too at his job. So it's a big one.
I didn't mention that. I didn't tell him to say that. I'm not. I don't even know what you call that. Darn.
Can't think of the word right now. Okay. Anyways, enough about us. Let's talk about hockey. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, despite there being not as much news since July 1st. But a couple of big ticket items, and one of them is huge. We're going to get into some NHL stuff first. We're going to talk about some of the free agency with some of the other teams. We'll look at some of like our off-season biggest winners and biggest losers, like who probably got better or maybe put themselves into playoff contention or Stanley Cup contention. And then obviously we're going to get into the star stuff. We got to talk about the tribal chief himself, Faksa, being traded to the Blues. And then the big thing we got to talk about, though, is Bally Sports is no mo. And then finally we'll get into some season grades with the offense. And then we'll get into our Who Cares segment for the evening. So, okay. It's kind of an open topic here, guys, with the free agency, and we can kind of go however direction you want to, but there were so many things that happened at the free agency. It's the first time in NHL history that over $1 billion worth of contracts were handed out to players. So in your opinion, what's something that really surprised you with some of these teams? What's something that a team that you thought got really got better, got worse? What are y'all's thoughts on the whole free agency thing?
Well, it was crazy. It was fun. This one lived up to the hype. I feel like we've had a couple of duds recently on free agent frenzy, but this one definitely lived up to the hype. Everyone was signed immediately, and you really couldn't keep up with it. It was a ton of fun that day. The shocking one to me is going to be the Predators. I mean, they are taking the home run swing for sure. I mean, they threw everything at the wall. They got every piece they possibly could, and some probably not really good-looking contracts, but we'll see what happens. If they do really well this year, who cares? I mean, that's kind of what they're thinking. It is what I saw with those signings that they did.
Yeah, the Predators definitely are going to be the big talking point, I think, for the whole league, and it makes the Stars' life a whole lot harder. But in the long run, I mean, it's going to be top four in the Central again. I really feel like.
So just to give you an idea for the Nashville Predators, because obviously I think they're probably the biggest winner. That's an easy one to pick considering who they signed. They signed a ton of big name players. You got Jonathan Marchessault. He gets 5 years for $27.5 million over the course of the contract, $5.5 million per season. That's a steal. In my opinion, I think they're the best contracts we saw. Obviously, the biggest name, though, is Steven Stamkos, the 34-year-old. He gets 4 years at $8 million per. And it seems crazy to me. Sorry, side tangent here. It was almost insulting that the Tampa Bay Lightning were giving him the rumored $3 million for 8 years. Do you think that's kind of insulting?
I don't know if that's actually what he was offered, honestly. I mean,
wouldn't
the
be
only way
surprised.
I see that was actually offered is if the Lightning were like, no, we really can't do it. And he was like, give me an offer anyway. You know, that's the only way I could see that happening. And that might have happened. But if you say, give me an offer anyway, you're asking for that too. So I don't think they just went out there and like, hey, we'll give you 8 years for $3 million. I don't think that's the way it went down. I think he's like, give me what you can do. And that's what they could do. Either way, still weird.
It really seemed like it was time for him to leave Tampa, especially with all the contracts that the Lightning have signed in the past couple of years. Those long, big number contracts. You can only sign so many of those before you have to let someone walk.
Yeah.
And obviously those are the two biggest ones, but they got a really big name on their defense too, and Brady Shea. He comes over from Carolina. I believe he got 4 years. No, he got 7 years. My gosh, at $7 million per season. So obviously, Barry Trotz sees something in his game that he really likes. Of course, we mentioned jokingly a little bit last episode about the other Matt Murray. So the Dallas Stars, Matt Murray goes to the Nashville Predators, but they also extended UC Saros. They kept Alexander Carrier, and of course, they also got the backup for the Stars last year in Scott Wedgwood. So let me ask you this question, because a lot of people overreacted now that it's been, a little over a week now since the, free agency opened up. For me, this team is definitely a playoff team, the Nashville Predators, in my own opinion. Now, I think the question is, where do they line up? Are they in the top 3? Are they a wild card team? Are they on the bubble? What's y'all's opinion in all of this?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to shake up the Central Division, which for the past 2, maybe 3 years it hasn't been a contest in the top 3. I think the Preds are going to push for a top 3 spot for sure, and it's going to make the division a lot more interesting.
Yeah, it should make like you said, the top 3 closer together. With how many good teams there are right now in the Central, it truly feels like a toss-up of who's those top 3 and who's the wild card. It's pretty obvious the Preds are going to be a playoff team. They were a playoff team last year. They didn't have all these players. So they're going to be a lot harder to take down. It all comes down to how well it all clicks together. And that's just something you don't know till the season starts.
Yeah.
Well, right now, when you take a look at their forward groups right now, it's pretty formidable. You got Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, and Gustav Nyquist on your first line. Your second line is Colton Sissons, Stamkos, and Marchessault. That's ridiculous right there too. You basically both of those guys could probably play up on the top line with Ryan O'Reilly. And then you got Parsonen, Evangelista, and Jankowski. And then you got a fourth line of Novaks, Cole Smith, and Michael McCarron. So, I mean, that's a pretty good team right there. I don't know if I would say they would win the division, as some people overreacted and said, "Oh, well, they got Stamkos and Marchessault, immediately they're gonna be Central Division champions now." I think they're gonna be 2, 3, or wild card at the very least. I'm probably leaning more towards the third spot, but I could see them getting the second spot too.
Yeah, I'm thinking either 3 or wild card. When you look at their depth, the top looks a lot better now with the addition of those 2 guys. I mean, they have 2 decent number 1 lines now. They don't have a great top line, but they have an amazing second line. The second line might be best in the league. But the 3 and the 4 lines, I mean, are not anything special at all. It feels like they don't have as deep a prospect pool as some other teams, especially like the Stars have, which fills out their depth really well. It seems like their last ditch effort for a little while to try and avoid a long rebuild, which I think they could have better spent money retooling rather than trying to make these home run signings. But like I said, if they are successful in the short term, it'll be, I mean, they'll see it as a success. So
Yeah, it really comes down to me to how well it all clicks together. I mean, it could be great. I mean, on paper the team looks great. The other thing that you got to think about is like Stamkos is getting older, Marchessault is getting older. That's also comes to injuries as well. Those are people who can get injured very easily and could be out for a while if they are injured.
Now, the other thing I wanted to point out with their forward group is the fact that all of their so-called top 6 players, I think Evangelista is probably going to get into the top 6 for them. But if he's on the third line, then all of their top 6 guys are 30 and above, except for Philip Forsberg, who is 29. So that there is some truth to that. And it's not that they can't win or win a Stanley Cup. They definitely could. You can win a Stanley Cup with some old guys, but that is a little bit of a little bit of a thing there. Now, the thing that's really impressive though is their decor and obviously their goaltending. Scott Wedgwood is, as we very well know, a very capable backup, and he's very good. UC Saros is one of the best goalies in the world and has been for the last half decade or plus. And then when you look at their defense, it's left, right, left, right, left, right. That's what they got. They got Roman Yossi, Dante Fabro, Brady Shea, Alexander Carrier, Jeremy Lazon, and Luke Shin. Luke Shin at a bottom pairing role, that's pretty good. I like that a lot. So that's something that Nashville's been known for a long time, is their decor and how well they play. So it doesn't really surprise me. But compare that to like the Stars decor, for example, and how does that, compare? Is it better than ours? Is it about the same? What do y'all think?
it's hard for me to have an opinion on Dubba and Labushkin right now without seeing them. So I would have to wait on that one. If you told me I had to pick right now, I'd probably give the Predators the edge on it.
Yeah, I give the Predators the edge pretty easily on that one, honestly. Even if Dumba and Labushkin both exceed what I'm expecting them to do, I'd still think the Predators probably win in that, just looking at it on paper.
Right. I kind of tend to agree with you, James. It's a very good team. It's absolutely a playoff team, in my opinion. So that's one of the winners from the offseason so far. One other winner I wanted to take a look at, if y'all don't have another winner team, do y'all have another winner team?
I kind of got Chicago. Kind
Okay.
of sneaky. Maybe not taking the step from bubble team to for sure playoff team, but maybe an out of it team to maybe a bubble team. I mean, all their signings, there's not a huge like home run swing here, but there's no bad contract that they signed, I don't think. I mean, they picked up a bunch of good guys on some really reasonable deals with moderately short term, which I feel like is really great for a team that's rebuilding pretty quickly. So that's kind of my sneaky winner of free agency. Chicago did a good job. They did a good job getting better, but not sacrificing the future of their team and what they can be very, very soon.
Most of the Central got at least a little bit better. Besides, like you could maybe argue like the Blues in Minnesota kind of stayed the same, but pretty much everyone else tried to improve. It's what you're supposed to do in off season. Most of Central feels like they did that.
Yeah, that's a very good pick, Chris. I didn't really pay attention to them much. I knew they had signed some really good guys and they had gotten some, but I didn't realize who they got.
Yeah, TJ Brody is their big one, really. Then they get Alec Martinez, and the other ones I like are Bertuzzi, and they also get Toivo Teravainen. And I mean, those are 4 just like solid middle guys. I feel like that. That's a core of your team.
I mean, Patrick Maroon in a 4th line role, that I'd take that any day.
People are great Pat Maroon, but sure.
Craig Smith. I mean, Laurent Brossoit. Laurent Brossoit had a really good year in Winnipeg, and
yeah, and even their bigger guys. They're just like, these are core solid guys that can win hockey games, and I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago finds their way into a playoff spot.
All right. Anybody else? Another team? I got one more team I want to go over. No? Okay. I really want to take a look at Washington because honestly, if I'm Alex Ovechkin right now, I'm jumping up and down with some of the things that they got done. They hit it out of the park, in my own opinion. So they kind of snuck their way into the playoffs, right? And they got completely swept. And it was not very fun to watch for them, and I'm sure it was not entertaining
who was
for
it
their
fun
fans to
to watch
watch.
for?
So they went out and they did a lot of things. They kept Connor McMichael. Obviously, they went out and got Taylor Radish, which I think is an under the radar kind of signing. But obviously, the biggest one is they went out and they got Matt Roy, which I mean, every defensive metric and every advanced analytic said that this guy would be good. And they got him for a really good cap hit. The 6 years is a little but for $5.75 million, yes, I'd take that any day. So, and then they also made a couple of trades and some other things that I was just really, 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 really impressed with. What did y'all see from Washington in particular?
Yeah, that's kind of the best you can do. It's like you've got a franchise, a career, obvious Hall of Fame player in Ovechkin who's going to keep playing. Really, if you don't have an Ovechkin on this team, you're probably taking it down and rebuilding, but they don't have that option. They got an Ovechkin. So we got Ovechkin. We're going to keep trying to be good until Ovechkin quits playing. So they did the best they could with that. I think they went a little bit too long, or they were too aggressive with their term. I feel like you mentioned the Matt Roy 6-year. That's a long time for a team that, I mean, in 3 years from now, they might be at the bottom and looking to dump some stuff. And that's a contract they might be able to move, but I would assume that
But
Roy would have gotten a no movement clause there.
he's 29, so by the time he's done, he's 35. That's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible.
I think 3 years is like the shortest that, I mean, that team would be good for, and then it's going to take longer than 3 years after that to get good. I mean, I feel like you're just paying for him to play good hockey when you're not going to be good in 3 to 4 years, likely. But we'll see. I don't think they care as long as they can keep Ovechkin competitive and get him in the playoffs and give him another chance. That's really what this team is doing, and it's all for one of the best players to ever play, and that makes sense.
And to get him back to scoring a lot more goals again. I mean, the whole goal for that franchise right now is for Ovechkin to score goals. That is it.
That's true.
He scored 31 goals, and more than halfway through the season, he didn't even have 10.
Yeah.
So, like, go down the stretch, he was just on a tear, which I think along with the rest of the hockey world, hopes he beats the record and beats Gretzky's record. I think he can do it. I think he's got enough in him to be able to beat the record. But just to like for example, look at their team now. Their team is actually pretty decent. It's way better than it was when they went to the playoffs. So they got the first line: Dylan Strome, Alex Ovechkin, Tom Wilson. That's a very, very formidable top line. Not the greatest in the world, but still pretty good. And then their second line is much better than it was. They got Pierre Dubois. So that's a little bit of a bet, but he's 26. Maybe he can do something. They went out and made the trade for Andrew Mangiapane. He was one of my favorite non-Dallas Stars players out there. He had a 30-goal season, I think 2 years ago. 2 years ago, had 20 this past year, I believe. TJ Oshie on that third line. And then you got a third line of McMichael, LaPerriere, and Protas, 3 really young guys. So they're all 22 or 23. That's pretty impressive. And then they got a fourth line of Nick Dowd, Brandon Duhaime, who we know too well. We hate Duhaime because he was playing for the Wild back in that playoff series. And Sonny Milano. Those are their forward lines. And then they went and made the trade for Chychrun. They have Carlson, Sandin. Obviously, they signed Roy. And then they got Ferravari and Van Riemsdyk to kind of round out their decor. That's not a bad team. Especially in a Metropolitan division that wasn't super strong. I mean, this team could fight for a top 3 position in that division if it's going to be as weak as it was last year. Chris.
Yeah,
I really think so.
If it's as bad as it was last year, yes. that might have been the worst division we've ever seen, though. I mean, the fact that the Washington Capitals made it to the playoffs, I mean, that has to be the worst team that's ever gone to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, yeah, they're better than last year, but I think it might put them right back in the exact same spot that they were last year.
Yeah, you're looking at the team and you're like, that's not bad. There's a lot of teams in the NHL that are not bad.
Yeah.
And then just to round out, and then we'll move on from this. Their goalies is not a bad tandem. It could be worse. They've got Charlie Lindgren, who is, I mean, for it, we're not. There's a lot of teams they're not as lucky as we are to have a number one goalie, but they've got Charlie Lindgren, who is really good for him this past year, and then they went out and made a trade for Logan Thompson. I mean, that is, and on top of Logan Thompson probably being a number one goalie and maybe being able to take over that role from Lindgren, his cap hit is not even at league minimum right now. So, excuse me. Just the fact that they were able to kind of revamp the team a little bit and they added all of these bodies in, that's some pretty good work by Washington.
Yeah,
there's a lot of work in it, and it shows. Just like the team got substantially better. It's just how much better did they get? Did they get better enough?
I think they did, and they got younger. On top of that, that's one of the things we talked about with Washington is they're just another old team, and yeah, they have Ovechkin still, and they have Wilson who's getting up there, Oshie, Carlson, like those top guys are still getting older, but they have some players who are younger. I mean, they've got McMichael, who's 23. They went out and got Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's 26. They got Chychrun, who's 26. So I got to give props to Washington. They've had one of the best off seasons in my own opinion. And on paper, it looks really good. It looks a lot better than it did than the team who lost to the Rangers in a sweep in round one. So if I'm Alexander Ovechkin, I'm really excited for next season. That's just how I feel. So, okay, biggest losers. Which teams kind of lost out the most in your opinion? I've got one, and that's about it. I don't know if y'all have any other ones.
Dallas Stars? I don't know. I'm still feeling kind of bad about how the whole defense shook out, and I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more. The trade for Faksa and re-signing Lundqvist is just super confusing. I'm going to say Stars are maybe not biggest loser, but most confusing.
Yeah, it feels unfinished. Like it's they pulled the puzzle out of the box and put a couple pieces together and then left it. we'll come back to it before the season starts.
Right. One of the teams that I don't think got any better, I think they actually got a little bit worse, was the Carolina Hurricanes. And I mean, they lost some pretty big players. They lost Brady Shea. They lose Teuvo Teravainen to Chicago. There's a couple of other ones I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but they didn't really make any signings I can remember that are of consequence. I mean, at least for the Stars, they were able to re-sign like Matt Duchene, and they do go out there. And I know Matt Dumba is not the biggest player in the world, but at least we go out there.
He's pretty
big. Okay, not that way, Chris. But like, it's not the sexy move, right? It's just a decent, solid signing, in my opinion. But it just didn't feel like Carolina got any better, and it's just probably because all their players kind of priced themselves out. I mean, they're looking at trading Marty Necas as well, one of their better forwards. So, I mean, that's just my pick for the biggest loser.
Maybe it's not like totally a bad thing either, though. I mean, they've been working with that team for a long time, and every time they come to the conference finals, they can't do it. I mean, they always have problems in the playoffs with scoring, regardless of who's in the lineup, who isn't. The playoffs have been a puzzle for them, whereas they can get past the first round just fine. It gets tough for them real quick, and it's just not working. And they've been in this, they're in contention phase for a long time now, and we haven't even seen a cup appearance from them. So I don't think it's a terrible thing for them.
Yeah, but then you look at the players they lost and who they're replacing with. I mean, they got Sean Walker, who was kind of a piece that was looked at fondly this this offseason, but he's a replacement for Brady Shea, and that's not even close. I mean,
Well, they
Walker's a
also
fine
let
player, but losing Brady Shea hurts a lot more than gaining Sean Walker helps.
Well, even more so than losing Brady Shea, they lost Brett Pesci on top of that, and he's a very defensive. So that you lose both guys who were extremely important to your decor. And I mean, they made some okay signings. Like you said, Sean Walker, they went out and got Ghost, the Gosta Spear from Detroit, I think is the last place. So he can put up points for you. The one that I was confused about was the Carrier contract. I mean, the $2 million is not bad, but for 6 years, that's a long time for a guy who's going to play on your bottom line. And then they got Roslovic, he's okay. He's a middle six guy,
but all these are replacements and they're downgrades from who they
right.
lost,
Exactly. Yes, it's not an upgrade, and they're gonna have to trade Marty Natchez on top of that, I think.
So yeah, I would agree. Not great from Carolina. It's tough for the Dallas Stars of the East.
Okay, there's one other team I want to talk about, but we're running out of time, so I will save it for like a blog post or something. Okay, moving on to the Stars stuff. You know, here's the funny thing about the two things that we complained about the most, that most Stars fans complained about the most. The first one being Ryan Suter getting bought out. That's what everyone wanted Jim Nill to do. The second thing everyone wanted Nill to do was to trade Roderick Faksa because he gets paid too much for a fourth line role. Yes, that's true. Well, he does both of those things, and people are still not happy.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to keep Chris Tanev, right? So I just find it ironic, and it just sucks, of all things, that he goes to the Blues. And it makes some sense because Doug Armstrong is very familiar with Roderick Faksa. Doug Armstrong was here as the general manager for a while, worked his way through the organization here. But what was y'all's thoughts for basically the fact that he got traded for nothing to St. Louis?
Yeah, those trades always seem weird and confuse lots of people and me sometimes. But being able to get rid of Faksa in that contract and not even have to give up a pick is really great work. And the Blues are probably the only team that were going to do that for nothing. And that's probably why he goes to a Central Division opponent rather than trying to get him further away so we don't have to play against him quite as much. But I think that's a great move by Nill. The only surprising thing is, yeah, you did the two things. You bought out Suter and you traded Radek Faksa, and you still miss Tanev. You still miss Roy. You still miss all the other top pair right-handed defensemen that were on the market. That's the confusing thing. I mean, if you got rid of those two contracts and you signed one of the marquee right-handed defensemen on the market for $7 million a year, no one questions. I mean, they're like, that's great. But to miss on all of them, and when you had a head start on probably the highest piece in Tanev, that's the confusing part. And I get there were some tax implications with Tanev having to change residency, and that's probably why Stars weren't able to match an offer. But to not get any of them is the big mistake for me. So
yeah, I think the Fox one really is a cap space move to probably sign Harley. If we see like a huge Harley extension and he gets like 6 to 8 years and it's in the 4 million range, that's like then it makes more sense, right? But till like you see something like that come through, it's very confusing. And like I said, it's like he threw all the puzzles out on the table and we don't know where they fit yet.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too, is that, okay, here comes a Harley extension, but I feel like if you're going to sign him for long term for a lot of money, that's something that Harley takes. Like, that's not something that you have to sit on for the entire offseason and wait until training camp happens. That's probably something that Harley wants. I mean, the reason the Robo deal didn't happen until a week before game one is because Robo wanted the long-term deal and we couldn't afford it right then. That's why it took so long. He was holding out for it. So I don't necessarily get this. And I don't think Harley is very good. He had a great season and was pretty consistent all year long, maybe a little bit slower at the end, but he's done it for one full year too. We got to remember that. So signing a guy for 8 years at 4, and I don't think he'd take 4. I think it's more like 6 if you sign him for an 8-year deal. That's a big risk. I mean, it could pay off huge the way that Klingberg contract did, but that's a huge risk on a guy who's had one full NHL season, I feel like. So your safe bet is to do the bridge contract anyway, and then you got $3 million and no one's available. What are we doing with that? That's why I'm confused, because I feel like if there was going to be a Harley extension, it would have happened.
Yeah. Now, with Faksa, I really think that what Nil was doing is he was looking towards the future and realizing that with some of the contracts he was forced to sign with Dumba and Labushkin, maybe he's trying to open it up a little bit more for the extensions for like the Wyatt Johnston and the Logan Stankoven players you absolutely cannot lose. So and also Harley. I think that was some of the thing as well. Now, what I think that he also wanted to do is he wanted to be able to add one more right-handed guy, which he did. He added Colin Blackwell. He's another depth guy, and that was it wasn't that Faksa had a bad year. He was just a casualty of the cap. That's all it was, and he wasn't living up to that 3.25 that he signed all those years ago now. So it really sucks because Roddick Faksa, I think he was
that
the
guy's
third
a Dallas
longest.
Star.
He is a Dallas Star through and through, and he will be for the rest of my
His
lifetime,
life.
in my opinion. But I mean, it just really sucks to see him leave.
I mean, he's a great, solid defender, amazing on the fourth line, just not amazing for $3 million. It's tough when you just look at stats alone and you see that Craig Smith outscores him this year, and that's tough when you're talking about you have Craig Smith on for $1 million for 1 year, and he played like 9 minutes a night and still beat him out.
Yeah, and you got to think when Faksa signs that contract, he's still kind of in prospect mode. He's kind of at the end of prospect, but there's still some room where he could show the scoring that he should when he was a prospect. So there is still that chance that Faksa is able to score. And if that's the case, he's the best fourth line, maybe third line center in the league, and he's getting paid $3 million for a longer contract. That would have been a great contract. It just missed a little bit. He didn't develop it he didn't develop the offensive side. He's still one of the best defensive forwards in the league, but to have no offense, it's not like it's a little bit. Like you said, Craig Smith outscored him. It's no offense. That's where $3 million is tough to swallow.
Especially with how the league is pushing more and more offense.
The thing that I think people are going to miss the most about him is, and they're not going to realize it, they're not going to realize it until you need a big face-off in the defensive zone
on the penalty kill.
Where's Faksa on the penalty kill? Yeah, I mean, he was always the guy. It was always Faksa and 2 defenders. I mean, you could always guarantee if it was a 5-on-3, it was Faksa and 2 other guys. So, and I think that a lot of people kind of didn't put value in those kind of things, and they didn't see a lot of those things that Roddick Faksa really did. Like Roddick Faksa did all of the nasty grunt work things that get no recognition, no glory, all of that stuff. And what was really impressive, what he did is, like you said, Chris, he was one of those first round picks, high flying, scoring, skilled guy coming into the league when he was really young. And he wasn't able to do that at the NHL level. So he reinvented himself. He focused on the defensive side of the game and became one of the best, honestly, in my opinion, when it comes to the defensive game. So I think we're going to miss him more than people realize on the ice, especially.
Yeah, I think the penalty kill numbers will go down. I think face-off percentage will go down a little bit. And you're exactly right. He did all those things that people don't notice, and those do have value. It's not $3 million, though, unfortunately. So,
and there is like he does amazing work on the penalty kill too, but it also opens up more space for other players to do it now too. I mean, Wyatt Johnston is one big component that I would mention. He's going to be the dude who's probably going to jump over the boards with those 2 other defensemen on 5-on-3. I mean, that's the dude I think about now on penalty kills. He he does everything and he does it so well. He's always in the right position on those as well. And he's gotten really good at winning faceoffs as of recent.
Yeah, and Rope Hintz and Wyatt Johnson, your two forwards on a penalty kill, that's going to keep people a little bit more honest, probably.
And I think that's why they were willing to part with him, is because, like, especially the last couple of years, we have seen some defensive strides in some of the forward groups, to be completely honest with you. Like, when Joe Pavelski came in, he showed everybody how to play defense as a forward. And he had lost a step completely before he even got here. And yet he was still up, for the Selke Trophy. He was getting votes for it. It was obviously not like up there, but he was still getting recognized with a couple of 4th and 5th place votes every once in a while the last couple of years. So maybe that's why they're willing to do it, because, even Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn are both saw some penalty kill timing because they're at that point in their career where they're middle six guys. So I'll end with
too. He's been very defensive as a rookie as well. That's something that we haven't had to really worry about, similar to Wyatt Johnson, not quite to the same extent yet. I don't think he's had that chance to prove himself though either. You have two very young players who can do things that Faksa was the only one who used to really do.
Yeah. And you got some players that play a little bit like Faksa in Cedar Park who had amazing years. Matthew Semenoff, friend of the show.
I hope he makes it. I really do. He's such a great guy. Anyways, to end off this Faksa part, I want to read his little post he put on Instagram. Thank you, Dallas Stars and all amazing fans, for 12 special years in the organization. I was proud to wear the Stars jersey and be a part of the team every day. Lots of memories and friendships that will last forever. It will always be second home for my family. So, what more can you say about a guy who leaves a post like that? That's great. I love it.
That's awesome. That's honestly a sneaky Dallas Stars Hall of Fame pick. Maybe.
That's true. I like that idea. I like that idea. Maybe he gets into the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame, and I think it'll take a while.
It'll take a while because it's new,
but
that's a sneaky one.
He's very sneakily like a fan favorite, like a Antoine Roussel or like a Steve Ott kind of
being
pick.
with the team for so long is really what does it too, and being such a good ambassador for it. You never heard anything bad about Radek Faksa, and he's always probably the guy who played hardest. So I like it. I feel like that's what a team Hall of Fame is for. Players like that.
Okay. Anything else about Faksa before we move on?
Thanks for the $3 million.
3.25 million, Chris.
Oh, my bad.
Anyways, okay. This is the real reason why we're really excited on this Tuesday night. Bally Sports and the Dallas Stars have parted ways. The games will no longer be broadcast regionally on Sports Network. Dallas Stars have struck a deal with a group that Dude Perfect actually works with. I think it's literally called a Parent Company Incorporated or something like that.
Media company. That's the name of the media company. That's hilarious.
Thank you, Chris. And they are calling this service Victory Plus. So if you live in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, or Louisiana, you can get Stars games for free on the Victory Plus platform. Now, we don't have any other specific details yet, but that will be coming in September. But the biggest thing about it is that it will be free. That's the thing. And this is unheard of in professional sports, especially on the men's side. And the fact that there's all these subscription services that people are doing. There have been 3 teams in the NHL with Vegas, Arizona, which is now Utah, and I believe Florida, who signed contracts with Script Sports, who kind of does something similar, but it still requires like a subscription service to pay for it. These will be completely free on the regional side. So this is huge. Not just for the Stars. We love this completely, but this is also huge for the fact in that a lot of people are worried for the Stars' sake that they're losing all of this revenue when it comes to the subscription service. And the Stars are kind of betting with some of the data that they've received from some companies they've, done stuff with, that the advertisements they're going to be able to get are going to be able to balance off, if not better, the Dallas Stars as a company. So that's a ballsy move. I'll steal Ardell's word down there. It is a very ballsy move, and it's a very strong move by the Dallas Stars to be able to do this. So maybe we see some other teams in the NHL do this, and maybe in some other leagues, but the Dallas Stars are the first one to do it, which feels kind of cool.
It's big for sports as a whole. This is going to be a fun experiment to kind of be a part of. It's completely new. No one's tried the just free direct to consumer app like this. You used to have like open air TV that you could do. That's advertising. Is how they used to do that. I assume they're going to try just pump that into all the commercials they possibly can. The other thing that's nice about doing the direct consumer stuff is that the Stars have the rights directly to all their games now. So preseason, we might see more than one game, people have been saying, which would be really nice because having all the preseason games going on and not being able to watch a single one is really annoying when you're trying to look at who is better against the other like actual there's like prospect tournaments and stuff that go on during the off season. Preseason games are like just a tiny step up from that, and those are still really fun for me to watch.
Yeah, and that's when you're itching for hockey too.
Right. And
another important thing to note, because we got a lot of non-local Stars fans, you're still able to watch it via ESPN Plus, is what I've been told from various Stars media personnel. So you should still be able to go ESPN Plus to find all the games that you need if you're out of market. So I mean, it's a win-win there. You're going to be watching the same way you have been if you're out of market, and everyone else who's in market is getting free hockey. So that's pretty sweet.
Now, the one thing that, the one thing that some people were a little bit worried about in this aspect was, okay, you're going the direction that probably sports are going. I mean, these regional sport networks are going to die in the next decade, I would assume, and going this direction. But the thing that some people are worried about is, are you going to be able to find the game like at a bar or like at a restaurant or, you know, wherever you, like Texas Live, for example. I mean, Texas Live is probably a bad example, but like, you know, places that don't have like those kind of, I mean, they would have to have like the Victory Plus app downloaded onto their smart TV or like on their phone and, you know, cast it to the TV or something like that. What I've actually heard and what I've actually been told by a couple of people, and yes, I have sources here, that the Stars are actually looking into doing a local TV channel as well on top of the Victory Plus stuff. So Victory Plus will be free, and it will continue, and that will be free for people who are local here who want to be able to watch it, you know, via the internet. Right? If you go to your sports bar or to a restaurant or whatever, right now they're working on a deal. I'm hoping it's with TXA 21 because that's who they dealt with in the past.
Didn't they do a game with them this past year too?
Maybe they did.
I think they had one game
at least one or two. Yes, and every once in a while for the past couple of years, that's the way it's been. Even when it was Fox Sports Southwest, every once in a while they would do that. So I'm hoping that that would take care of that aspect of the problem, and then you could just whoever's at the bar can just tell the bartender, hey, can you turn it to channel 21 or whatever. So I don't think.
But also, what sports bar doesn't have smart TVs now? If your sports bar doesn't have a smart TV, go to a different bar.
Well, a lot of let's be honest, Chris. There's not a lot of hardcore Dallas Stars fans like we are. Like, and obviously those in the chat and those who are listening to the show are hardcores. But how many of those are out there, you know, like working at restaurants and stuff like that?
And that's the other thing that I feel like is part of this gamble too, is this Victory Plus thing. It's not going to be like Vegas's nighttime, or like you mentioned, those other three teams, they kind of have their own specific apps almost that you're paying pay-per-view for. This one is going to be, they're trying to get all the regional networks onto this app. This is going to be an app that every sports bar will have because all the regional teams are on it. That's kind of the goal of this thing. And I feel like with the Stars gambling on this, I'm wondering if they're getting a little percentage because this is a huge gamble. I've heard that, I mean, the regional TV contract they give up is potentially around like $20 million that they're giving up to take this gamble. And I'm wondering if they're getting a little piece of the pie to take that big risk.
Well, there's a risk to everything that you do, right? And maybe this is like short-term losses, long-term
That's definitely
gains.
what this is. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm looking at it right now, especially is like maybe for the first year, they take some losses just because this is a new thing that not many people are doing, not many, almost well, nobody is doing. And one of the things that's really interesting, and I'm looking way too far into it, but if you go to the Victory Plus X profile, and if you look at their bio, now they don't only have the hockey icon, but they also have a basketball icon. So that makes me think and speculate, could maybe the Dallas Mavericks be in on this and kind of just jump ship with Bally Sports as well and, add on to that. I think it would be a little bit harder for the Mavericks to get out of the contract with Bally Sports than it would be the Stars because the Mavericks are with the NBA and the NBA is just a bigger, a bigger market than the NHL is. But that could be something that I think they could see in the future. You could get the Dallas Mavericks and the Texas Rangers and the Dallas Wings and FC Dallas on Victory Plus as well. So I think that's something that you could look forward to in the future, possibly.
Yep, 100%. And digging a little bit deeper on their post, they had a hockey stick, a basketball, a golf hole, and a tennis ball. So that's what made me say they're trying to be more than one sport, one team, one region. It's trying to be a whole big deal.
Now, the one thing I do want to talk about with this is obviously what they're betting on is being able to make up the money in advertising dollars. And we've complained a lot about the fact that the advertising seems to be over the top ridiculous now in the NHL with the moving boards during the play, with the logos on the ice that aren't actually there, stuff like that. Is it okay now that everything's basically free? Are you willing to go through and deal with all of these? Because they're going to find a way to advertise everything, right? In order to recoup some of the money they're losing with the RSN, with the regional sport network. Is it going to be annoying enough to you, or are you going to be like, I don't care, it's whatever, I'm not paying $20 a month for it anymore, it's free?
Yeah, if it doesn't progress further than it is now, it should be fine. But I mean, they're saving me over $100 a year in watching hockey, so yeah, I'll take some ads if it means I get $200 in my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't mind most of the advertisement stuff anyway. I'm used to watching streamers with all their pop-ups on the side of the edge like we have up over there, but they're bigger and more invasive. I find it easier for me to look past that, especially when I'm not having to pay for what I'm watching.
Yeah, and that's another thing we haven't really mentioned. How many newer sports fans could this possibly bring in that a subscription service would completely block out? I mean, obviously the subscription service is a lot safer. You're having guaranteed money each time. If someone's signing up for the subscription service, they're probably staying with it throughout the entire season. With this gives you the option to grow your fan base too, which is the other long-term play other than just the advertising and getting more teams on board. This is really capable of bringing in new fans. You show them, hey, you download this app, you can watch this sport for free whenever they're playing. I mean, they're for sure going to do that. I mean, just to check it out. Why not? If you're bored,
And
so
anyone
easy
who
to
has
do.
internet too. I mean, you don't have to have too much money now either. I mean, you
You
still
don't
have
even
to have
download an
a
app. You
certain
go
base level.
You go
Yeah.
on a web browser. It's
Yeah.
so much easier to access than it has been before.
Well, and it's not like the team in Dallas is bad either. It's like this is one of the best teams in the league. So
That's the other thing. When the hype train gets going at the end of the year, especially when the games aren't nationally televised for playoffs, you can get a lot more fans hopping on earlier, I think, when the standings race comes up too. So I think it's definitely a long-term play, potential losing short-term. But I mean, what's the worst case scenario is you go 3 years, you've lost too much money, and then you sign the big deal anyway. That's worst case scenario. So I think it's a great attempt, a great
I
experiment.
think pointing out that this is one of the best teams in the league is really big too. I mean, this team finished second in the entire standings this year, second, and they're doing now a free direct to consumer content like this. Like that is
Maybe more stars to me.
enormous. Yeah, I mean that should be huge. It's going to be a really big deal for the next couple of years.
It really makes me feel good, just especially as a Dallas Stars hardcore fan. Like we're ridiculous. We're talking about hockey in July. Okay, it really makes me feel good because the organization itself is betting on its market. It's betting on us to go out and support this team. So that really makes me feel good in the fact that they're putting the trust in us to do that. I know that seems crazy, but
And they literally gave me $200 this year. I mean,
Yeah, that helps.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Now I do. There's one thing I want to point out about this. The contract that they signed with Chris. What was the name of the company again?
Apparent Media Company.
Is for 7 years. So this is not like a year by year thing or just a trial run. This is like a full on bet, and like we're going this direction.
And we were locked into the Bally Sports contract too. If it flops, the company flops. Stars are out of it. They go sign a big media deal, and it's right back where it was. It's not a thing that could break the Stars. This isn't going to cause the Stars to go bankrupt. That's why it's a good bet. Low risk, high reward, in my opinion.
And also the nice thing about this is that all the people that were working with Bally Sports to provide the Stars coverage, all those same people are staying with it. So like
they're Stars employees.
They're Stars employees. So we don't have to worry about losing Josh or Razor or Brian, Sevi, any of those guys. And of course, friend of the show, Josh Clark. We don't have to lose him either. He's the one that does all the graphics for them. None of that is going away, but it's going to be extremely interesting to watch the first preseason game. I'm assuming they're going to do it because they want to get some trial runs in before the actual thing starts, the regular season. So I think they're going to do every single preseason game, and I would expect I would expect even practices to kind of be out there too. I could see that. I mean, why not? You have the ability to do that. Yeah, exactly.
You just need one camera, just throw it up there and leave it. Whoever wants to watch can watch.
Right, exactly. So there are just so many things that they could do with this. It's really exciting. It's really cool, and good on the Stars. Good on Jim Nill. Good on Tom Goularty, Jim Lights, Brad Alberts, everybody up at the top for being willing to take this very scary step, because this is a multi-million-dollar step that they're taking and that they're betting on, and they're betting on the Dallas area.
Well, betting on us
as well. Yes, exactly. So thank you, and I hope that we stand up for these guys and we get them what they deserve. Get them some money. Let's go. Okay, it is already down to 55 minutes, so we were gonna do off-season grades for the offense, but we're gonna skip that tonight.
I knew
and we're gonna go. I was hoping to get to it, and we talked too much about the other stuff, but that's okay. We got the whole off-season to do it. We have our Who Cares segment for the evening. Chris, it was your idea, so you may introduce it.
Yeah, I thought about this a few months ago. We're doing top 3 Chinese food items. Broad range. I guess I said Chinese takeout, but whatever. Chinese food. I'm thinking not real authentic, We're not actually trying to be Chinese here. We're the Americanized Chinese food. So And Chinese means Asia, obviously. James, number 3rd.
All right. My number 3rd is going to be the fortune cookie. It is too iconic to not be on my list. It is the only thing on there.
That's so American of
that
you.
is a terrible pick. That is all.
That is so American
This is why it's my 3rd pick. It has to be mentioned. It's too iconic to not make it on anyone's list. The fortunes aren't even fortunes anymore. They're just generic statements that you unwrap.
Sometimes you can get some. If you go to the hole in the wall Chinese places, they still got the ones with fortunes. I found that out the other day.
Broken English, yeah.
Yes, those are the best.
Those are the best. Those are the best. I mean,
they still taste terrible.
They taste like cardboard, but that's okay.
It's not okay. Right, number 3rd.
This is kind of lame as well, but it's my number 3 for a reason. I like fried rice. You can't
That's a
go
good
wrong with
pick.
fried rice.
Almost made my list.
Every time I go to like a Chinese restaurant, or I'll even throw a Japanese restaurant in there, I always get fried rice. It's really good. Nothing really else to add to that. That's my number 3.
And the other thing about fried rice, you could tell I almost picked this one. I can't make fried rice.
He's got a description for it.
I mean, who can make fried rice in their own home? I can't. I can't do that. Only way I get fried rice, I gotta go to China House to get my fried rice. So boom, fried rice. Honorable mention for me is the spring roll. I was going back and forth here, but number 3 is going to be the egg roll. We're putting the meat in it and we're deep frying it. That's what we're doing. I mean, this is just how American is this? We took all the Chinese food, put it in a tortilla, and deep fried it, and we made a chimichanga out of Chinese food. That's great. Number 3, egg roll. James,
that's why it's my number 2. My number 2.
Great.
Chris explained it perfectly for me. I didn't know what I was gonna say, but that egg rolls are just good. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Nailed it. Ryan, number 2.
I'm lame. I'm sorry to break it up, but it's not my number 2. I love chicken when I go to Chinese restaurants just because of all the different sauces they can do. But my number 2 is sweet and sour chicken. You can't go wrong with that. It was almost orange chicken, but orange chicken is below fried rice. So sweet and sour chicken is my number 2. What you got, Chris?
My number 2, this is very specific. My number 2 is Thai drunken noodles. And if you tell me to pick a specific place for you to find this, it's Pei Wei. If you go to Pei Wei, get the spicy drunken noodles, and they are amazing. They got a little chicken on them. They got this spicy, savory sauce all over them. And man, Asian noodles, I don't know how they're different, but they're different, and they're so good. They're so like toothsome and filling. I don't know. Chinese noodles are amazing. Drunken noodles, number 2. James, number 1.
My number 1 is going to be Mongolian beef. It doesn't matter what Chinese place I've gone to. When I get Mongolian beef, I always like it. I mean, it's just sweet. It's beef. I don't know what else could go wrong. Onions are great. Onions are my favorite. Part.
Ryan, number 1.
Quick shout outs to onion broth. I don't know why I like the onion broth from Chinese restaurants, but it's really good. And then for some reason, I don't know also why this is good, but those stupid little teriyaki chicken sticks that you get from the Chinese buffets, those are also really good. But my number 1 has to be General Tso's chicken.
Great.
My number 1 has to be General Tso's chicken.
Great.
Because am I guessing that that's your number 1 too, Chris?
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
I'll take that as a yes. But it's perfect. Just everything about it, the consistency of the sauce, and it's spicy, but it's also not like too spicy. So if you're like one of those people that can't handle spice very well, this is like a perfect sauce
sad
for you
person
to try. So,
a sad person,
like someone that can't handle spice.
Yeah, sad person.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed it.
There you go.
Yes,
good job.
A sad person.
Yeah, my number 1 is General Tso's chicken. That is absolutely the correct answer. If you said Chinese takeout and you didn't pick a sugar chicken, you're wrong. You gotta have a favorite sugar chicken. Right?
I picked 2.
Honestly, kind of respect it. You gotta have a sugar chicken that's your favorite. You gotta have a go-to sugar chicken. General Tso's chicken is mine, and it's great reasoning there, Ryan. It's got the spicy, but it's got the sweet still. It's still sickly sweet like the sugar chicken is. It's got some savory in it too. The other sugar chicken don't. Orange chicken, that's what it's missing. It's missing that little bit of savory element. It's taking it all out with the sweet orange. So the sugar chicken, specifically General Tso's, you gotta have a favorite sugar chicken. It doesn't have to be General Tso's, but if you don't pick General Tso's, you're wrong. So General Tso's chicken, number 1.
If y'all couldn't tell, General Tso's was a Chambers staple.
Yes.
No, that's a me staple. That's a me staple.
That was a Chambers staple. I don't
James,
think
what's your sugar chicken? You didn't pick one sugar chicken.
Sesame chicken is mine.
You didn't have a sugar chicken in your top 3.
That's a good one.
Mine was sugar beef, though.
Nope.
Beef's better than chicken. That's just
no. Okay, no.
Beef is better than chicken.
If you start saying that, we're gonna go on another 10 minutes on this podcast
about
you
you
saying
flip
chicken.
sides here, Ryan. I mean, steak is beef.
Are you?
Steak is beef.
Okay.
You know what else is beef?
Dang it, that's
Fajitas.
hard.
Fajitas is beef.
Fajitas are
Good
beef.
fajitas is beef.
Okay, now we're getting
Brisket
way off
is
topic.
beef.
We're
Brisket is
opening up
beef.
so much stuff now.
Yeah, I was incorrect. Chinese food, chicken is better. I agree. But if we're
Okay,
saying
yeah,
broadly,
okay, there you go. Yes, okay.
Chinese food, chicken better.
Yes, I'm with you there. Although James, I do like Mongolian beef. The Mongolian beef is very good. It's just not my top 3.
Nope.
So, all right,
Don't
hey,
sniff it.
hey, does this mean I actually win, Chris? My first
Did
ever.
you win? No,
He
I
did
love
for egg
drunken
rolls.
noodles. You don't get it. I had drunken noodles.
But I picked 2 sugar chickens though.
No, you gotta have 1 sugar chicken. 2 is excessive.
And fried rice? Are you kidding? I still don't win.
No, 2 is excessive. I mean,
I think Ryan wins.
if you
Thank you, James.
if you have
2
more
versus
than 1
1,
sugar
I win,
chicken in your
Chris.
top 3, that's crazy. I mean, you only order 1 every time anyway. If you order 2 different types of sugar chicken, you like alternate them. Crazy.
Yeah, that is a little weird. Unless you have like a giant family like we do, and we just do like a buffet style. We just get like
Nope.
every single kind of chicken.
Even then, if you get
Dude.
more than 1 type of sugar
Okay,
chicken,
no.
you're insane.
Well, like, okay, even like when we do the local Chinese restaurant here, you get like General Tso's, sesame, teriyaki, orange, which I surprisingly I don't like their orange chicken from the local one here, but like we get all of that stuff, and I enjoy doing that and mixing up the chicken then. But still, I eat more of the General Tso's than anything. I think we get like 2 or 3 General Tso's, actually. So.
Well,
Dude,
Ardell,
this general's name is changing every time we say it. Also,
General
Ardell
Tso's.
said that Ryan is still banned for picking the N64 as a child's toy. So
That's so stupid. Ardell, that's so mean.
that was a
That is a fair
long
point.
time ago.
I don't even remember when that was. Golly, that was so long ago. Okay, we need to go because James needs to get going.
get
so
out of the
okay,
bathroom.
yeah, and get out of the
It's
bathroom.
hot
He's
in
been sitting.
here. My butt
Yeah.
hurts. I've been holding this mic the whole time.
Yeah, I've been sitting in this closet for too long too. But
Y'all
he's
need
also got to drive
studios.
ahead of him. So, okay, we will have an actual studio one day. I promise. Okay. Anything else, guys? Anything else?
Nope.
No, let's get out of here. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening along with us here today. We had 57 here with us live. There's even more that are listening afterwards to our crazy rants about Chinese food. We appreciate y'all doing that. Thank you to Manscaped, DraftKings, and BetterHelp. Use the promo code THPN. SarcasticRemarks.com is the website. SarcasticRemarksShop.com is the shop where you can best support us. Follow us on social media at SarcasticR. Leave us a 5-star review anywhere you listen to your podcasts, and leave a like under this video on YouTube and click subscribe. Make sure you never miss one of our episodes. Along with Chris and along with Bug-Eyed James, my name is Ryan. We will catch you guys on the flip side, and hope you guys have a good and great, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever y'all are listening. We'll see you guys later.